Well, thank you very much for the invitation. I'm very glad to be here. This is always an admirable context in which one is invited to London. This is really capital of important country. So my issue is Pegida and its political context in Germany. As it was already said, the attention for the Pegida protest movement has diminished, so as the protest movement has diminished. And to start with, although I'm very, very critical towards the substance of the political culture in Germany, I am not really afraid about what happened with AfD and Pegida, because I start from the experience that since the Second World War, we have a more or less constant percentage of 20% in Germany who are inclined to anti-Semitism. That has not changed a lot. We have only about 35% who are clearly against, and in between we have a number of people who do not know exactly. So what happened here with Pegida and with AfD is a new kind of materialization of a potential of right-wing extremism which we had all the time in Germany, and even AfD is in a percentage not really exceeding that. So this is not something which does really create, which frightens me, I have to say. I'm frightened by other stuff, I will tell you, but this one doesn't really frighten me. And also, we are used to experience that all these right-wing tendencies have difficulties to get institutionalized, because a very strong motive of them is resentment and hostility. And this is not, if you have resentment and hostility against the outer world, you have also resentment and hostility against the inner world of these organizations. This is always a reciprocity, and we can see that already with AfD, that they are constantly fighting, kicking each other out, and I do not really think that they will have a solid organization to influence politics. I'm not afraid of that. And Pegida also already has lost a number of supporters. And what was nevertheless interesting, and I don't think it would have happened about 25, 30 years ago, that we had so many manifestations, protests against Pegida. This mobilization of those who were against Pegida is something which I was really a little bit surprised about and happy about, because that means that the public, and there are cultural activists who know that that is dangerous and that we have to protest against it. There would have been 25 years ago, there would have been many people who wouldn't have liked it, but who would not have gone to the streets to really manifest and demonstrate. So in that sense, there is a progress. And I also think, by my former studies on prejudice, etc., mentalities, political culture, that in all our societies, not only in Germany, we have kind of a potential, we have sediments, and sometimes they are quite quiet because things are well, and if there is a crisis or something which is more sharp, then it comes up and gets more present into the conscience, and then it goes down. What is much more, I think, dangerous is that within the conservative parties, this potential of resentment and of hostility, in my view, has grown. And this is a problem. We have also recently seen that Pegida and AfD, but Pegida has many more sympathizing people in the Christian Democratic Party in Saxonia than was thought before. So it is not so dangerous to have these extremist movements. This is dangerous if this kind of thinking enters the so-called political center, and that is more of a problem. The psychological reasons for resentment have been explained a number of times, and we know from the election studies in the 30s of the 20th century that it is not the poor and those who really suffer, but it is those who have no perspective in the future, who are afraid that they will lose their status, etc., who are really dangerous, who were adherents of the National Socialists, etc. We are not the poor. The poor were organized with the communists, were organized with the Social Democrats, with trade unions, but we are not the adherents of the National Socialists. So one source of Pegida is this kind of normal potential of nationalism, extremism, xenophobian attitude, etc. Second is that, as well for the political system as for the media, there are in fact problems that are difficult for citizens. First of all, many things are so complex that they don't understand what is happening. Second, our nation states are not anymore able to find solutions for the challenges which we have, because they are nearly all transnational, be it climate, be it natural resources, be it security, be it whatever. Even social security, you can't organize that anymore by nation states. And on the other hand, to come together, we see it in Europe, and to have a common political position towards all these problems, which in the time of globalization are transnational, has not yet succeeded. And therefore, I think what is really very important is to find actors and mechanisms for solving these problems. We can see, I would call that better global governance. We can see, by the way, that the insufficiency of national state politics for the moment in Germany, and I say that as a German who has always been German, plays, in my view, a very unhappy and not really a prudent role in European politics and also in global politics, because the first time they are pursuing, and also Chancellor Merkel, in spite of her quite kind of modest behavior, she is pursuing a clearly limited national point of view, limited in terms of time, and limited also in terms of thinking what would be also important for other neighbors, etc. So these limits are a problem. And concerning Greece, the tactical political ideas which are important, namely, for instance, that Syriza should not have really a successful time, because that would then strengthen the left in Spain for the next elections, etc. This is, in my view, much more important than all what they are telling. And they are telling, the Christian Democrats are telling a story about Greece and the Greeks, which is really very close to a national prejudice, to all that what we know for a long while. And the Social Democrats are not really fighting against it, because they are so afraid within the power competition between the Christian Democrats and the Social Democrats. They are so afraid that they would get a bad echo from the German society, because Angela Merkel has such a high level of trust surveys that they really do not dare to do it. So what we need against that are new forms of governance with transnational organized civil society, with transnational cooperation, also with companies, in addition, not instead, in addition of traditional democratic representative politics for actors and procedures, in order to overcome that at the level of communities until the global level.
Wow, 9 minutes.